Welcome. This is an information session regarding the Foundation Phase Compact Profile. This training is suitable for new to Foundation Phase staff who are in nursery and reception, and a revision session for anyone that needs it. The Education Minister announced on the 6th of July 2021 that it will be statutory this year for primary schools to administer the baseline assessment for pupils in reception in the first 6 weeks of the new academic year beginning September 21. This is to provide confidence of individual learners' progress amongst practitioners, learners and parents. So this is a statutory requirement to complete the compact profile within the first 6 weeks in reception, and it is good practice to do so in nursery. It is essential that you carry out observations based on the compact profile, as this will give you essential information on the key developmental skills that young children need to access future learning. The aims of this session are to understand the Foundation Phase Compact Profile and how to use it, a background and overview to the profile, structure of the Compact Profile, understanding the skill ladders within the Compact Profile, and linking current observation practice to skill ladders, and finally the scoring system. These quotes highlight the importance of observations that adults make in determining children's independent ability and subsequent planning and provision. It's not a one-off exercise to assess children. We often hear that it is something to get done in the first 6 weeks, and then the curriculum begins. This is an essential part of your ongoing practice to know exactly where the children are and plan their next steps. This is the Foundation Phase Profile Handbook. It was revised in September 2017, just to make sure you have the correct edition. All the relevant documents are found below in the resource section. The full document contains the compact and full profile. We use the compact profile to observe nursery and reception in their first 6 weeks. Thereafter, we use the Foundation Phase framework to plan from the skills and assess using the outcomes in the framework document. The purpose of the profile is that it can be carried out within your Foundation Phase pedagogy at continuous provision, both indoors and outdoors, as part of your everyday provision. Through observations, we know what children's needs and interests are, especially this year as their time in school has been limited. It is not intended to be a series of standalone tests or focus tasks at a table. There is no statutory requirement to report your observations back to parents. However, if you find that a child has a significant developmental delay, for example, independence in personal care or speech and language, it is an opportunity to open up that dialogue with parents. Although it is not statutory, it is good practice to carry out the compact profile with nursery children in September or within the first 6 weeks of them starting school. If a child enters the reception class from outside of Wales, then it is statutory to complete a compact profile within their first 6 weeks on entering the class. If they come from within Wales, this information should be sent on from their previous school. Also, if your school receives early entitlement children, it is also usual that they are observed using the compact profile too. Children should be observed against the profile in the language of the setting or school. Observations for the language literacy and communication skills and mathematical development areas of learning should therefore only be carried out in English or Welsh. Therefore, for example, a French-speaking child in an English medium school is observed using English in Oracy and needs to be counting backwards and forwards, naming shapes and saying how many objects in the English language. However, you may note as part of your observation that they know the shape names in French, but they do not yet know the names in the language of the school. For the personal and social development, well-being and cultural diversity and physical development areas of learning, the skills should be the focus of the observation. These are the foundation phase areas of learning. The flashing areas are the ones to be observed. There are 4 skill ladders to be observed in each area of learning. Therefore, 16 skill ladders in total. Each skill ladder is graded working towards to outcome 6. The bronze, silver and gold statements for language literacy, communication and mathematical development correspond to the Roots for Learning documents, which are the pre-nursery skills and also support children with complex learning needs. These documents are available in the resource section. These are the titles of the skill ladders to be observed in each area of learning, with the page numbers from the profile document so you know where to find them. This table shows the outcomes that can be broadly aligned with the expected ages of development. The foundation phase framework is based upon child development, and key milestones are aligned to particular age ranges. If you would like to know more about child development, we would recommend having a look at Carolyn Meggett's book, Child Development, an Illustrated Guide, which comes with a CD of video clips related to children's physical and cognitive development. The aim of this next section is to illustrate features of the skill ladders. It is an introduction to the statements, guidance, the way in which they link to existing foundation phase outcomes, and the way in which they are made up of hierarchical statements using the concrete examples of social interaction in personal social development, well-being and cultural diversity. So this is the skill ladder of social interaction. The skill ladders are made up of statements, children are able to, and guidance, children may be observed. Statements describe the skills shown by the child at each outcome, from bronze, silver, gold through to outcome 1 to 6. The guidance makes sure all practitioners understand the statement in the same way. Linking the theory of observation to the skill ladders. It is useful to understand the importance of observation, which is a key element to foundation phase pedagogy and practice, introduced as part of the Welsh Government guidance materials back in 2008. This document is still relevant today, although digital technology has changed. There are case studies of observation practice, bearing in mind that technology has changed. For example, the use of apps, for example, using Seesaw. And we are currently waiting for a training module on observation to be released on Hub in the near future. In this section, we will look at the importance of observation and answer the following questions. Why do we need to make observations? Observation over time enables practitioners to find out about children's development, strengths and abilities, misinterpretations, misunderstandings, and identify any difficulties, personal choices, interests and needs, and knowledge and understanding across all areas of learning. What do observations enable us to do? With this understanding, practitioners can respond to individual needs when planning, recognise, monitor and evaluate the activities opportunities, inform pupils, staff, parents and carers of their achievements, progress and next steps, plan for successful transition, and note areas of training for staff development. With whom should children be observed? playing alone, with peers in pairs and in small groups, and with practitioners, parents, carers and visitors. In what sort of activities should children be observed? Indoors and outdoors, free play and structured play, pretend play, small world, construction, creative, physical, etc. at different times of the day and on different days of the week. How should practitioners observe? Each of the following might be planned or spontaneous. Standing back and allowing children to continue their activity without interruptions, or taking an active role in an activity that children are involved in, for example through commenting or asking questions. And finally, when should practitioners intervene during an observation? If children are struggling and showing signs of frustration, showing signs that their learning play has reached a plateau, at risk from a health and safety issue, unable to resolve a disagreement, or being aggressive with resources, or wanting to include you in their play. Now looking at the observation cycle. The observation cycle is your planning cycle. What does this mean for your provision? Here are a few questions to think about. Are your observations being considered as part of your planning? Is your continuous provision indoors and outdoors matching the needs and interests of your children? Is the level of challenge and resources you provide appropriate to the abilities of your children at enhanced continuous provision indoors and outdoors? Are you, as adults in the provision, modelling the behaviours and language appropriately, using effective questions and supporting independent learning skills? So looking at personal and social development, well-being and cultural diversity. Looking more closely at the skill ladders within the compact profile. So for social interaction, you will be observing if children play on their own, do they interact with other children, do they play alongside, parallel play and play independently. For behaviour regulation, are children able to follow rules, take turns and share resources? Within response to others, do they show respect towards others, greet an unfamiliar person, or look after a child if they are upset? And within independence in personal care, are they able to dress themselves, go to the toilet independently, and wash their hands? All can be observed at different times of the day, playtimes, indoors, outdoors, and different days of the week. As we know, some children may change behaviours from one day to another, depending on family situations, which may be more prominent during the pandemic. It would be useful to make more than one observation, as we know children's behaviours can change in different situations. Physical development. So physical development influences the range of activities with which children can engage. This in turn can influence their dispositions and motivations, which then in turn influence a range of academic and social outcomes. Ladders in physical development give information about gross motor skills and fine motor skills. Fine motor skills involved in different ladders, including grasping, for example, holding a mark-making object, manipulating, for example, fine manipulation, visual motor integration, for example, drawing, and bimanual coordination, for example, using scissors and tools. So looking at the compact profile, the skill ladders we observe are coordinated movement. This is where you observe children running, jumping from the ground and on and off equipment or the landscape, for example jumping off tree trunks, tyres, steps, balancing again on equipment or objects in the environment, moving around still objects and avoiding them. Fine manipulation. This can be observing such things as hand-eye coordination, for example building towers, threading beads on a string, manipulating dough into shapes, fitting parts of a jigsaw together, fastening buttons and zips, and opening and closing bottles. Holding a mark-making implement. This can be observed the pencil grip and using different mark-making equipment. Examples of different grips are shown on page 85 of the compact profile. Drawing. This can be observing children drawing with different mark-making equipment. An example is to ask them to draw something very familiar to them, such as themselves or a member of their family. It is important to remember not to assist them or prompt them. These are the images of different grips which correspond to the outcomes, which when observed will support you in providing appropriate mark-making resources and planning hand and finger strengthening resources in your provision. We also have a stages of writing document which we will include in the resource section. These are pictures of drawings that will help you with your observations, and the detail within the drawings are described within each example. Language literacy and communication. The skill ladders in the compact profile fall into two areas, oracy and reading. Some research findings relating to oracy. Language skills influence lots of different areas, including academic outcomes, behaviour and social and emotional skills. In addition to children who have unexplained language difficulties in the early years, there are significant numbers of children who present with language difficulties as a result of limited experiences. We may now be faced with a range of language difficulties due to children's experiences during the lockdowns, which may be related to numerous factors such as parents working from home, not being able to interact with extended family and friends. So looking at each section more closely. Listening. This is where children are observed. Are they able to follow one-step or two-step instructions? Phonological awareness. Do children join in with songs and rhymes and games such as I Spy? And can they play with rhyming patterns, which can be nonsense sounds and words? Expressive language. Are children able to express themselves in simple terms, using simple sentences with up to 3 and then 5 words, and using newly learnt vocabulary in their play, and then using more adjectives and adverbs? This needs a lot of adult interaction, modelling good language patterns, a rich learning environment to promote talk and quality listening opportunities. Understanding reading materials. This can be observing children with quality and interest in books or magazines. Do they hold the book correctly? Can they turn the pages? Do they make sense of the pictures and tell their own story? It is good to provide books and a text-rich environment in different provision areas which stimulate an interest in reading. 1/5 of the British population have difficulties with maths which interfere with their ability to carry out practical activities. Early intervention for mathematics basically involves good teaching, differentiated to meet each individual's pattern of strengths and weaknesses. By understanding children's patterns of strengths and weaknesses with mathematics, early input can reduce the likelihood of difficulties later in life. So looking at the compact profile, reciting and sequencing number. Can children recite counting forwards and backwards to 10 using number songs and rhymes, and can they order set of objects up to 5 objects? Counting, not only just objects but using their bodies such as claps, jumps and nods within real context in the provision areas both indoors and outdoors within their natural play. Shape. Playing and exploring with 2D and 3D shapes. Can children do so in their play, recognise and name their shapes. This can happen quite naturally indoors and outdoors within your block, construction or loose parts areas. Pattern. Can children copy a pattern that can be with objects or auditory, for example within repeating sounds, or body movements such as clapping, tapping or stomping? Here we have put together some photographs to show how you can incorporate observing different skill ladders within the one provision area. For example, the space tower. You could ask the children to count the blocks, name the shapes, and you could also observe other skill ladders such as social interactions and their coordinated movement. This section explains the scoring system. The record form is an optional part of the foundation phase profile. You can use it to record brief notes of your observations and evidence against each statement. The record form is for use in the setting only. Use your professional judgment as to what evidence you need to keep. Here we have included the observation form in the back of the profile. It is not compulsory to use this. The first column includes the statement for the outcome. The second column gives more information to support the statement. The third column, you can note your observation and evidence, and the final column is to date and complete it. You may have other suitable methods and technology available to record your observations and evidence. This is an example of a whole class observation sheet. The scoring tables are at the back of the profile handbook, or you may use an online assessment system that calculates the overall outcome for you. As the blue line indicates, you select the score for each skill ladder, total it up, and it gives an overall outcome for that area of learning. Note that this is a compact profile outcome. If the child's score in an individual skill ladder is more than one outcome above or below their overall outcome, record this information on the Skills for Further Attention section on the front page of the profile form. This can then be used to plan support or intervention for a skill that is below the others. And finally, to summarise, to date, guidance has been provided by Welsh Government regarding the baseline assessment of reception pupils. It is statutory for schools to undertake the baseline assessment for pupils in reception in the first 6 weeks they enter school. The observations will provide key information regarding pupils' development and will also inform the next steps in planning and provision. If you have any further questions when completing the compact profile, please contact me. You can email me at joannedavis@gwergogleth.cymru. Thank you.